What's up, everyone? Today we're going to be looking at the guild boss and dream realm bosses and how to make the best team that you can make for these different challenges based on the units that you have. Now, to start off, this is not a one size fits all team comp guide. I'm not going to give you like team comps that work best for everything because the bosses are continuously changing in both of these game modes. So it doesn't make a lot of sense to just say like this comp is really good and this should be used everywhere. It also is challenging because everyone has different units built out so far in the game, and because it's so early, it's really not like advisable to just build for these game modes because there's a lot of other areas that you want to be pushing to, and so your team comp that is best for you will look different than the best one in your server or in your clan or even in other game modes. So let's get into it. So the first thing I want to show you is if you go into rankings, and this is available in both the Guild Boss and in Dream Realms, you can see here, you can see your current leaderboards in your clan, and then you can see other guild rankings. So I generally just kind of see the highest guild, and then I see who the highest damage is on their team. And then you can actually see a breakdown of the different comps that they used, including the pet that they used. And this can be really helpful to see what other people are doing. So you can see every wave, who they have, and kind of seeing the damage, who's doing stuff, who's not, and then kind of base your comp based on that. But one thing that's really cool that a lot of people don't know is if you click here, you can copy one of the teams that they have, and you can do this for every single one. You just have to do it one at a time. So let's just say I'm going to copy all three of these, and then I'm going to go back. Okay, now that I'm at the guild boss screen, I can actually go ahead and click on this little indicator right here, and I can actually auto populate the units that I have available into the different teams, which is a good way to kind of start with building your teams. I don't think this is the end-all be-all way of doing it, but that's a good way to get started. And you can see here, it shows the 3 units that I don't actually have, and so it doesn't place them anywhere on the team. But thankfully, because this is Companions, I can go and borrow some of my clanmates' units. And so let's see, Ainz and Obito, I don't know if anyone's gonna have those. So, and this is where it kind of takes a turn of you can look at other builds that people are using the leaderboard function, or you can kind of just play around and see what works for you. So maybe I will throw in Belinda here, and then let's throw him in here. I have no idea if this is a good team or not, but let's try it. One other thing is it does not populate a pet, and so if you want to use the same exact pet that they're using, you're gonna have to memorize it or recheck it. And then I'm just gonna go ahead and toss in what seems good here. Sure. And then let's just toss you in too. Okay, so let's try it. Okay, I got a new record. That's a good sign for me, at least. My damage is definitely not as high as some of those other ones, mostly because those are whale accounts who have most of their units pretty built out in the top clans as well. But, it is better than what I would do if I was just kind of throwing stuff together. So you can see how this kind of works as far as utilizing different units on your guild, ones that you have built out with similar comps that others are using. Now, one thing you can also do is look at other people in your guild to see what they do, because they'll be using a lot of the same units that you have access to. And so maybe there's some that you want to try that you've noticed are doing pretty well. So it kind of depends on what you have and also the units that are available through your guild. And it will take a little bit of time to kind of iron some of this out and try with different bosses, because every boss is different and they function differently. Another thing to keep in mind is your martial rating. So as you can see here, depending on your level of your units that you have ascended or like leveled up, you can get your unit level up to 260, which, a 50 level difference, it can make a big difference with your total damage you're doing. It's not like the most significant thing, but as you level up your units, you will naturally do a little more damage over time compared to being at the lower end at 210. Another thing to keep an eye on for is the differences between bosses. And so we're at the Dream Realm right now, and we're looking at the Grotesque Mage. So he is a little weird because he will flee the battle after enemies have used enough of their ultimates. And so basically you have like a gauge at the top, and every time someone uses an ultimate, it adds this gauge. And then once it's full, he flees away and the battle's done. Now, another interesting thing is for this Dream Realm, there is this kind of status changer, and it doesn't let you use your ultimate. And so even though he has this weird thing where you can't use your ultimate until he'll flee, there's a status changing symbol that basically prevents you from using your ultimate. And so his fleeing mechanic is irrelevant. It doesn't even matter. And so these things change every time there's a new boss. And so you want to make sure you keep an eye on these because it might kind of affect how you build your comp, what kind of comp you want to go for, and so on and so forth. And like the guild boss, I would just check and see what some of the highest damage people on your servers are, and then go off of that. And so you have Hot Mommy's clan kind of balling out over here. And they're using a bunch of maxed out characters pretty much, doing a lot of damage. And that's working well for them. And so if I had all these units, I could just copy it and bring it over. Unfortunately, in the Dream Realm, you don't get to use your designated champions from your clan. You have a teammate just like your campaign, but it isn't always the same person. And so my teammate, not doing very good. I probably need to switch who I have as a teammate because I don't think they're really playing much anymore. But you want to make sure that you have a teammate who is offering some units that maybe you don't have or are beneficial to you, because right now I'm not benefiting at all from what they have. And so that can really put a damper on your Dream Realm ranking and progression. One more thing that I wanted to look at that can be a little confusing, especially to those who are coming from the classic servers, is why some of the damage on certain units can be so much less compared to others. And so if I'm looking at my Thorn right here, he's 1-star ascended and he's doing 15 million damage. So if we go and look at the rankings, the one that I copied from, theirs did 56 million damage, significantly more than me. And it just kind of seems weird that they would be doing so much more compared to me in this situation. But if you kind of dig a little deeper, you can see that their Thorn is max build. He has all 5 stars. Their Sanja is ascended, not red or mythic like mine. And then I believe their Rosaline is also higher than mine. And so all these little differences, even though they might seem small, because in the classic version, the number of stars you had after 1 star wasn't really a big deal. That didn't matter. It just kind of added a little more stats. But in Companions, they can make a huge deal with how the character works and the damage output. And you don't know what their signature item is at, which can also make a big difference, because my Thorn has the base signature item and nothing else, whereas this one might have a fully built out signature item. We just don't know. And so to show this point a little further, I want to show you Thane, his divine effects. So these effects go up every time you increase their star rating. So mine only had a 1 star, which means he only gets this skill right here, which is really good. It's something you really want with him, especially for the clan boss. But if you look at here, you have this effect that increases attack rating by 8% for 5 seconds, and it can be stacked. That can be really beneficial when trying to do a lot of damage. And then this also just helps in general. So you can see how a 1 star compared to a 5 star can be totally different as far as how the unit operates. And if you look at the signature item as well, as you kind of basically increase it, his damage is just going to go up even more. And so that can really explain and show you how mine only did 15 mil compared to his 30 mil or 50 mil rather damage thing. And so my final tip for you is, if you are really struggling with the Twisted Realm or Dream Realm still, you can go ahead and look at the popularity chart to see which units are really thriving against certain bosses. And so you can go and actually see down here which are the top units against each boss, which gives you a pretty good idea of what units you can use or focus on when building towards these bosses. You can see Rowan is in a lot of these. Rowan is great because he restores your energy for your units, which just helps them get their ults off more. Leica's attack buffs, obviously really nice. Shamira is doing a lot of damage. Taylene can do a good amount of damage when built out fully. Rosaline also does a lot of like healing and energy restoration. Mishka, pretty good at damage. And so you can see how some of these teams are varying a little bit and certain ones are higher up. And so that'll give you another base idea of which units really do thrive in these different scenarios. With everything being said, at the end of the day, this is a game and it's going to take some trial and error. So make sure you are being patient with yourself, trying to figure out which teams work best in different scenarios. They really made the guild bosses specifically a little more complicated than the previous game, which I personally like. Before it was just like you autoed it every time and you just didn't even think twice about it. But now you actually have to put some thought and effort into building your team and who you want to build out for these teams. And it's not just a one comp fits all type of scenario, but you actually have to kind of think about how you're building things and where you're positioning units. And so be patient with yourself. Depending on which units you have, certain things might be better or worse. But good luck. Thank you guys for watching. And as always, have a great rest of your day. Peace.